I don't have another one, no. I can give you mine.
Did I not print off enough?
No,
You have an extra purchase command?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, she got mine.
Oh, hold on, I got it on my laptop, so I can talk about it.
Very good. Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order at 10 o'clock. Just wanted to take one quick second to say congratulations to Mr. Jackson, who is now our official HR director. Yeah, so glad to have him full-time on board with HR, as I assume Carissa probably is too.
Yes.
I don't know.
He lies, yes.
He lies, yes. All right, first item on the agenda is call for approval of the minutes from the December meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
I would like, I'm going to boom here. I'd like to propose a minor correction.
Okay, if I could can I get a motion first?
Sure. I move we approve the minutes
Okay,
with a minor correction.
and I will second. Any discussion? Please go ahead.
I did not vote to approve the previous meeting's minutes, so it was not unanimous. I abstained. I didn't make a big deal out of it. Because I had not been at the previous meeting, I didn't feel that I could support that. So it's,
Okay, so we will need to, under approval of the November 8th meeting minutes, we should say that the board, that it was approved by 3, so basically 3, and then 1 abstain.
Yes.
Said abstain. Okay, so let's make so I'll make a motion to change the minutes as you suggested. And you second the motion?
okay.
Second the motion to change? Okay, is there any discussion on the change? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to make the motion to approve the minutes as amended in the previous vote. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Very good. Thank you. All right. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is old business. I just wanted to keep this on there because personally for myself, I forget about it as time goes. We did have in November, our meeting, we had the public hearings to approve some items that were to go to City Council for consideration. And I believe that process is in motion. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. So we'll keep that on there. Hopefully that will be done before the our next meeting here. I don't know for sure how the calendar works without looking to see if it'll get on the agenda for a couple weeks.
Yeah, so that is an option, and I'm gonna propose another option too. You
Okay.
guys can decide which direction you'd like to go, because we're gonna have some other things that we wanna possibly bring up and have a public hearing for that can be rolled in with that group
Okay.
of items, or you can do two separate.
Okay.
So.
Well, go ahead and explain so that if
Okay.
you'd like. Yeah.
So, at your place, you have 3 documents, 3 separate pages. All 3 are titled Article 4, Hours of Work and Leave. The one that's stapled, the bigger document, is the one I'm gonna talk about right now. So, the items on there that are struck through and underlined, not red, just the black and white, were items that you had previously approved. The elimination and addition of new verbiage.
Okay.
What we propose is in red, just a couple of small housekeeping things. So it's been kind of confusing for some new staff when they see President's Day - floating holiday. They think that they have to take the floating holiday on President's Day. There really is, we don't have President's Day anymore. So we just removed President's Day from that. And then the first line there, you see President's Day is observed as a floating holiday. Again, that's a little confusing. It's not observed as a floating holiday. We just don't have President's Day, and we have a floating holiday. So some people were thinking they were forced to take their floating holiday on President's Day, so we just removed those items.
Okay.
So that specifically, since this was one of those items that was gonna go to council here the next couple weeks, we thought maybe you wanna, because this would still require a public hearing, right? Just even those. minor
Yes,
changes.
yes.
So we
should have
thought
it.
maybe you'd wanna delay that and
Okay.
have the public hearing,
Okay.
or we can do it twice, however you all wanna do it.
Then, and will there also be changes to this sheet that we're looking at based on any discussion we're having?
Oh, yeah, potentially, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
these are just our ideas, and hopefully you get some feedback from y'all.
okay.
These haven't gone to legal yet, so after feedback from you, then we would take it to legal before we do the next public hearing.
Okay.
So-
So then would it be appropriate to take, I think there were 7 items that we had hearings on? Could be wrong,
6 or 7.
6 or 7?
Yeah.
What if we moved the others to council?
Okay.
To let them take that?
Okay.
Because we could be a while here, right? Because we
Mhm.
won't meet for another month, then we would have to have a public hearing after that, so we could just,
So we would, is there any way we could do the public hearing at the next meeting
on this item?
on any of these items?
We can, let me just address in general. So
Okay.
we can do that. We would give 10 days notice.
Okay.
But if we're going to make any substantive changes to this, then
Oh,
we
you'd
want
want
it
it
to
to
come back
come
to
back.
us
Gotcha, okay.
first and then do that. But the other 5 or 6, whichever, I can't remember the number, those have already been passed out.
Yeah.
So those could go.
And those really were more just
Very
general
simple.
housekeeping.
Yeah, things like you don't have to give your jury duty money back to the city for, that kind of stuff. So if we could just go ahead and get those going,
Okay, we can do that.
and then, and not do the hours of work and leave, or, yeah, not do the holiday stuff, because we're gonna still be talking about holiday.
And those
benefits.
are due on Monday by 5. We already have a placeholder with the city
Okay.
clerk for those, so we'll. just-
Okay.
I'll talk to her later today and make sure those get moved through, so.
Wonderful, then that will get those out of the way. Okay, and then next is update on the unpaid time off policy proposal.
Is this
Um,
the extended leave?
No, those are the previous ones. The ones we discussed last time.
Oh, from, okay.
Timekeeping and unpaid time off.
So,
Which timekeeping we said was gonna be your
Yes,
policy.
Yes,
which would
I
be,
was just reminding.
yeah,
Yeah.
which would be a good time, so if we're gonna take some of these back, take feedback
Okay.
for some of the ones I'll bring up here in a few minutes, we can bring that to the next one too, and then kind of have a finalized package for when it goes to public hearing, if
Okay.
that would work for you.
Yeah.
So we haven't actually finalized it. We've taken what the feedback and we've kind of thrown it in there, but we don't really have a finalized document on that yet.
Okay.
About that time, when we finalized or finished the last meeting, we lost our recruiting manager. We're a small department, so that was the person that did all of the onboarding and hiring. So we've absorbed that with current staff, so, and learned the processes a little bit deeper. So we've, not trying to make an excuse, but we
No,
haven't had a chance to really go through that one yet, so.
when you're union negotiations and all kinds of.
And union
things, so It's never simple and fast
But
in
that,
HR.
we'll make sure that's on the next one
Okay.
when we have feedback from you all for this, the next 2.
Okay, then, and Lindsay will keep me honest here, so I would make a motion to table this item until the next regularly scheduled meeting in March of the board. I never remember. I never remember which one it is. And I listen to Jeremy at every council meeting, and he says it. So, okay, so we'll postpone, I'm making a motion to postpone the item number 2 under old business for our regularly scheduled meeting in March. Could I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. All right, on to new business. Talk us through, please.
Okay, the holiday pay language, I think we just discussed. So that is new business, but it was updating old business, just having those few items on there. At your place, you do have 2 more documents, both titled Article 4. First one we'll discuss here is G with FMLA. So we went through and revised that, made it a little bit clearer. The first
Can you, oh, here.
couple items. So I'll read through it here. Failure to return after FMLA leave or military caregiver leave, which is part of the same package. So we want to be clear there. An employee who fails to return to work as scheduled after FMLA or military caregiver leave or exceeds the 12-week entitlement for both may choose to request extended leave of absence and failure to return to work or to request additional leave time will be considered job abandonment and may result in termination. So there are some situations that might pop up where someone's laid up in the hospital and never got around to doing it. We don't want to immediately say someone's terminated. We want to give a chance to discuss it. But for all intents and purposes, if we don't hear from you and you're at the end of FMLA, we've reached them. Typically, the supervisor will reach out if someone doesn't show up for work the next day or the day they're supposed to be there. If we don't hear anything back, it's going to be considered job abandonment, possibly, and we might be terminated for that. So we want to be clear.
Okay. And I just wanted to ask you, it is, and I'm sorry, I haven't read through FMLA in a long time. So it's 12 weeks for FMLA, 26 for military.
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure because that is different. Okay.
Just being a little clearer in number 14 as well. We also, let me back up a little bit. When it comes to leave of absence, when the city handles leave of absence without pay or with pay, it was kind of disjointed. They were treated similar, but not exactly the same. And we feel that it should be the same. Whether you have leave time or not, whether you're going to be paid for it or not, you need to request the leave of absence. If you have leave time, you'll be paid for the leave time. If you don't, you won't. But there was two different paths people had to travel down, and it was very confusing. So if someone said, well, if I'm going to request 6 months, but I only have 2 months of leave, do I request a leave with absence with pay or without pay? Or do I do one and then in 2 months when I run out, do I do a second one? It was very disjointed. So what we're trying to do here is truncate everything, make it nice and smooth, one process, whether you have leave or not. You request it, you'll be paid out the leave that you are due, if granted, and if not, then your job will be held without pay. So from that, I'll kind of scroll down here a little bit to J.
Okay.
But before we get off of G, could I ask a question?
Sure.
I need some ignorance cured. What is the military caregiver leave?
It allows for a family member of an individual who is in the military to care for them. So they just get a little bit longer leave, basically. I mean, that's the high level explanation of it.
Okay. When I see military and leave together, I assume it's active duty people requesting the leave.
No, not under the caregiver clause. It's for the individual who may need to provide care for them.
Thank you.
I have a question really quick.
Sure.
I see in 14 that by the department head is removed. Is that, is there a separate process
well,
for who approves it?
Yeah, we
It's
addressed,
down
we
below.
put it in J. It was in both spots, and it was kind of confusing because one said the department director, the other said the department director, HR director, and city manager, and it was kind of a little confusing. So
Gotcha.
And I have a question here, but I need 1 second to read. So on 14, it addresses the 12 weeks of FMLA, but not the 26 of military caregiver. Is that intentional? Is there no extension available for that? Does that question make sense, first of all?
It does.
it does, and that's a good point. Maybe we should put, instead of extending leave beyond the 12 weeks, it's just extending leave, and it kind of covers both. That's probably right.
Yeah.
Okay. Or say extending leave and then add in the 26 weeks. But
Yeah, something to make sure that
Sure.
they can request an extension under both. Okay.
gotcha.
Did not have extended leave of absence. Okay. Any further discussion? I don't have any further questions on that right now. Good? Okay.
Okay, so moving on down to J.
Okay.
Again, we clean that up a little bit. Instead of just leave of absence without pay, we're just saying it's an extended leave of absence. And we go further into that in J there. So it says, if an employee desires an extended leave of absence, the request must be submitted in writing and approved by the department director, human resources director, and city manager. The request must include a date by which the employee expects to return to work. Up to 1 year may be approved, which is what's currently in policy, and approval will be dependent upon compatibility with the needs of the service for the city, which that's not currently listed in there. So we want to make sure that you can get up to 1 year, but it's gonna be tough. I mean, it's really tough to not have someone in a position for a full year. There are some situations maybe that would work, but we wanna ensure that the city can continue to operate effectively and efficiently if someone is not in that role for up to a year.
And it does say up to 1 year, so if they
Yes.
want to request just 2 months,
Correct.
then that's fine.
And the majority of the time when we've dealt with this in the past, in my experience over the last number of years, not in HR, but when I've had staff request it, it's typically 3, 4 months, 6 months. It's very rarely do you ever see the full year. Because people want to work, they want to come back to work. Also, more often than not, you're not going to have enough leave time to cover, much more often than not, an entire year. So while you might have the extension and your position's held, you're not getting paid. So people want to come back to work, so it's typically not an issue. But there might be some situations where 1 full year might be warranted, so.
And then like something like accrual of vacation and paid time off, health insurance, is that covered elsewhere? Like if you're on that extended without pay, then that means.
We cover it below.
The next,
Oh.
next paragraph, perfect segue.
I love it, okay.
So if you are approved, so once approved, the employee will be placed, and this is where it gets a lot cleaner for us in the HR side, and actually for in the payroll side, management side, every side. Once approved, the employee will be placed on inactive status. So when you're on inactive status, you will cease to accrue additional leave time. The problem we were having before is if you had an extended leave of absence, you were still accruing leave time. So in perpetuity, you would never run out. So you'd always have something. So over the course of if you had 1 month worth of leave and you're gone for 8 months, you would always be paid something during that 8 months because you're accruing it the entire time. Which this is different than someone taking a 2-week vacation. If you're taking vacation, you're still accruing your time because you're still an active employee. If you're an extended leave of absence, you're no longer an active employee. You're inactive. Your job's being held, but we want to make sure that no one's accruing leave time while they're on inactive status. And then to cover them, the employee may choose to utilize current leave balances intermittently during this. So right now, if you have, let's say you have 100 hours of vacation and you request 6 months of leave, of extended leave, you'd be paid that 100 hours until you run out. Well, then the city has to come back to you and ask you for a check that you're no longer getting paid for to cover benefits, to cover your insurance. So this allows them to work with payroll and benefits to say, I've got 100 hours and it takes me 8 hours a pay period to cover my health and medical, dental, all that stuff. So let's figure out how long I can go with the 100 hours to cover everything. So we're not having to track them down and get a check back to the city. It's just a lot cleaner on the payroll side and on the benefits side. And it's easier for the employee too. And of course it says if applicable, because a lot of people, especially if it's after FMLA, if they've already extended all of their leave, they might not have anything. So in some cases, you will have to write a check back to the city if you're planning on keeping your insurance.
And then that portion about keeping your insurance, and I hesitate to turn the page because maybe it's on the next one. Do we define inactive status somewhere and that indicates, I don't remember that phrase before, which is fine. Do we define that, and then has our health insurance agreed that people in an inactive status can still participate in the plan? I assume you
Yes.
check that
We
out.
don't have that defined though. That is a
Okay.
good point.
We'll wanna
we might
add that
wanna
to-
include active status and inactive status defined in the terms of definition. So
Yeah.
it's a good point.
And we got a lot of cleaning up in there to do just because of changes we've made.
Yes.
So, and I've kind of worked on that a little bit on the side. Okay.
This was a term that we borrowed from payroll.
Yeah.
When they use active and inactive. So, but yeah, we can put that in the glossary or in the defs.
Before we leave this page,
Mhm.
in the interest of simple wordsmithing and to extend what Laura said about using both when we're putting the military caregiver leave in, G14, paragraph 1, where it says authorized in red, it only says FMLA. So it should be either authorized leave or authorized FMLA and military caregiver leave.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'll make that correction right now.
something else popped into my head and then jumped right back out. Oh, I know what it was. I think this is probably just a numbering issue, but I think oh no, I apologize. You've just gotten the sections here we were looking at, because FMLA does have
Yeah.
14 points underneath
Yeah,
it. I
just
forgot.
to save paper.
Yes.
It's fair, you having to read through everything. I tried to
Yeah.
make sure the heading was up top and then kind of jumped through. I think this section 4 has 14, 15, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I mean,
Yep.
different subsection headings. So
Okay.
just kind of cut and paste the ones that were important.
Nope, I appreciate that. I just thought how we got off on numbering, but that makes complete sense, because that act takes up pages. So, okay, any further discussion on this page? Okay. Moving on to
Okay.
whichever one you'd like to tackle next.
Now, this is the final one here. Is also Article 4.
Okay.
It's a big article.
Mhm.
This deals with sick leave. So, to give you some background on this, we've had discussions for many years with probationary employees and the use of sick leave. As everybody knows, your 6 months probation doesn't mean you're not going to get sick during that time, especially if you're an hourly employee. You can't work. Well, not sorry. Let me back up. Not necessarily an hourly employee, especially a lot of our employees, hourly or not, don't have the ability to work from home when they're sick. It's a physical job. They have to be here. So rather than ding the employee 2 ways, one, not pay them for staying home, doing what they're supposed to be doing when they're sick or their family member's sick, is taking care of family member, not dinging them and reducing their paycheck. That's the first side of it. The second side, if they were forced to come in and get paid for that day, then they're potentially infecting everybody else in the workplace. We decided let's look at allowing probationary employees the ability to take sick leave. One step further than that, we decided it does take you a while to accrue sick leave. So let's say it's your second week of working, you haven't accrued any time. Let's say it's your first month, you've only accrued not even quite 8 hours yet, so not even a full day. We thought let's find a way to front load the sick leave. So 6 months worth of sick leave is 48 hours. So we thought let's give them a bank of 48 hours to start off with. They won't accrue anything until they come off probation, and then they'll start accruing at the normal rate. But at least everybody starts with a bucket of sick leave that they can utilize. The potential risk is to the city would be paying someone for a couple of days of sick leave, and then they don't make it through probationary period. But the reward is they were able to stay home with the child, not send a child to school, cause a mini outbreak in the school district, not coming into the health or into around healthy people in the office, causing another mini outbreak. We figure the risk is worth the reward. So we would like to propose to front load 48 hours, which is again the equivalent of 6 months of sick leave for all new employees.
I think that's admirable. I do have a question. Is the probationary period of 6 months uniform across all employees?
It is, and however, you can have an extended probation. So we made it clear that you only start accruing after you come off probation. So at the end of that 6 months, if you got an extension, which isn't really typical, but if you did get an extension of another month or 2 months on probation, you're not going to start accruing it until you come off probation. And we just feel like it's really good public health practice. We've always preached stay home if you're sick, but well before COVID, H1N1, H5N1, just the flu in general. Stay home if you're sick. Stay home if you're sick. But if people don't have the leave time to do it, we just think it's not right to ding them for it.
Okay, so I have a question. The new law that was passed by Missouri for sick leave, and I don't have it on the top of my head. I probably could find it, but I think it starts in April, and you have to have so many hours per employee. Are you aware of that law?
Cities are exempt.
Yeah,
from-
we're exempt.
Oh, you're exempt.
Mhm.
Fair enough question.
There you go.
Always good to ask, and always good to have an attorney.
Well,
in there.
and also, this is very much in line, so again, kudos.
And I was interested in hearing the rest of it because I'm not aware of that. But just because we're exempt doesn't mean it's something we shouldn't be doing potentially, but if.
Well, it's very much
Does it
like
fall
what
in
you're
line?
doing, except the hours are a little bit lower than what
Okay.
you're required, I believe.
I mean, hours wise, I know we're, as a city, very generous.
Absolutely.
Compared to
And
most.
this, like he says, is very
employers.
admirable, because you can, it's so hard to say, stay home, well, I'm not gonna get paid, well,
Yes.
stay home.
I mean, I have hundreds of situations that over the years, especially when you've got a sick family member, if you're a single parent, you have no one to look after it, and you have to send the child to school. There's no other option, and then it causes issues in the school district. So, and that's felt citywide. So,
Thank you.
Good point. I had a couple of items. One, we can change his, her to they or them.
Okay.
We have approved all of that language to be changed to neutral pronouns. I'm not sure what the phrase is, but
Okay.
general neutral pronoun. I knew I was close. Yeah, we did vote, and that was before you all's time to change that. So that's
Okay.
small. I wanted to ask on, and I think I've answered my question. There's 2 times that an employee can go on probation, be in a probationary period when they're a new hire, and then also when they get promoted. However, my assumption is if you're getting promoted, you're obviously out of your initial probationary period. You're already accruing hours, so we don't have to address that as 2 different things because you're already continuing to accrue.
Yeah.
Right.
And we list new employees, but to your point though, it might be good to. We do have that in section 2 that we eliminated. It does, or no, I'm sorry, section 3. It says initial probationary period, that first line. So that might be something we want to include back in there, just to be crystal clear. It's not if you're on probationary, in a probationary period for discipline reasons either. So that's another.
Yeah.
'Cause there's 3 different ways of
Three
probation,
different,
different types of probationary period. So I'll add that in.
It actually does say initial as written in B.
And that's why I wondered if it needed to be expanded to, but
I have initial, but if they're placed back on probation, it could still be considered their initial probationary period for that position, not their initial employment for a probationary period. I think you're right to clean it up
Just to make- yeah,
just a
make
little bit more,
yeah,
because inevitably there'll be a time that,
right. If we don't do it,
If we don't
in
do it.
time, then we'll be back here talking about it. Yeah. So adjusting the 3 different ways we can be on probation and making sure that's all included. And one question I had also too is the 48 hours. I think I know the answer again, but maybe I don't. How will this affect, I know the fire department's in negotiations right now. Is that something they're considering in negotiations? Because obviously 48
Yeah.
hours
actually,
for them is.
negotiating with the fire department a few weeks ago was what kind of spurred we were already wanting to do this, and when they have 24-hour rotation, and we thought, okay, it's difficult for the lay employee that accrues it at this rate, that it works to an 8-hour shift. It's going to be really difficult for a 24-hour shift. So let's get creative. And after looking back, it's really not that creative, but it's not something typical that employers will do. So I talked with the fire and union president and told him we were looking at doing this, and he did give us a thumbs up. He thought it was great. So that's something that they still might want to include specifically in their CBA, but it won't necessarily be a requirement for them, because if we cover it in city policy, it'll take care of that. So
And in a sense too, that, when you think of their shifts, because I believe they have to take 24 hours, right? They don't split.
Correct.
Okay. I know MedAC we could do first half and back half, but,
so really, it was going to take them about 4 months
right,
of working, 3.5 to 4 months before they were even going to get
anything.
accrued enough to take a full sick day. So
And then this will give them 2 sick days, and if they happen, and because of the spread out nature of their shifts, they don't work day.
Yep.
It's more than it appears, if you will. Like,
Yes.
they take 24 off in the middle of the week, that's gonna get them most of the week, because they're
for
already.
the most part, yeah.
Yeah, they're 2 before.
And there's going to be some situations where it won't work, and that, there's going to be a situation where someone has COVID run through their house, and they've got kids to take care of, and they need to take 56 hours or whatever, but at least this is something,
Yes.
least it's working with them to try to make sure that they're doing the right thing, and we're encouraging that.
Agreed.
And I will highlight section, number 2 as well. We just deleted that whole section. The city doesn't do that. We have a payroll system that handles, as soon as you start accruing. It starts getting populated. This, I think, was from back when it was done manually. I'm assuming. I checked with our payroll manager, and she said, yeah, this is not. It's already been updated in most of the CBAs, so it just needs to be removed. Everything is pretty much addressed in number 1. And then number 3, essentially is just saying it needs to be authorized if there's a reason. More or less, you're not going to use sick leave to take a vacation day. It needs to be for an actual reason that is in accordance with sick leave.
And then I was looking at a part-time employee will earn, back up to F1C, and part-time will earn leave credit each month in proportion to, so that's not changing.
No.
They're not upfronting anything.
No.
Okay, and then temporary, they don't even get. So.
Correct.
So I have a question on number 3, where you're saying it may be authorized by the director. Is it maybe or must be authorized?
It doesn't have to be necessarily. If they say this is a situation that probably doesn't happen very much at all, I haven't been known to see it, but if someone says I'm going to go to the parade today, I'm going to use my sick leave. No, you can't. We're not. The director's not going to. They're going to ask if you were sick. I mean, they're not going to ask details about it. But if they say I'm going to use this for X, Y, and Z, that's not taking care of a family member, or not actually being sick, or going to a doctor's appointment, then they have the right to deny that, and then they would be required to take vacation time or personal business time.
Okay, and are you requiring any documentation of doctor's appointments and things of that nature to be able to help with that authorization?
We have it in another section
Okay.
that the director has the right to request.
Okay.
Not a requirement, but the right, if they suspect that someone's taken off every Thursday, they're sick for 2 months in a row, they're going to request, next time you take off Thursday, then we're going to need to see some sort of a note or something.
Okay.
So we have that in another section, yes.
Perfect.
That's a good backstop in case something gets out of control. I mean, we're hoping that otherwise people are being very honest and upfront about what they're doing.
But we also don't want to get into the habit of requiring it every time. When someone's sick, they need to stay home and get better. If there's an issue to go to the doctor, of course go, but just to go get a note, you can't get into your doctor that fast anyway. So to go to a minute clinic just so you can get a note from a nurse practitioner that says, yes, this person was sick, seems kind of counterintuitive of why they're taking sick leave to stay home anyway. So they do have that ability to request it, and there are some folks that have been known to abuse sick leave, and that's when they should exercise that right. But we don't want the directors to make that a general habit to request it every single time. It's just not necessary. We don't
And
feel.
just increases healthcare costs across the board, which we don't need any of that either. Just to go to a doctor to say, I need a note, can you tell I'm sick?
And the doctors, and I mean, you guys know, they'll write one for you. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go to a nurse practitioner or a doctor at a minute clinic, if you ask for it, they're gonna give it to you. So it's not,
Right.
it doesn't really necessarily prove anything. It proves that you physically went to somewhere to be seen. So,
Signature was
Yeah,
somebody
to
with
get a
initials
signature.
behind their name, yeah.
But again, there are instances that we've been known folks that abuse the sick leave and may or may not be using it for the right reasons. So the director does have the right to request.
Okay, you done with that page?
Yes.
Very good. Good discussion. All right.
Do you need to include military caregiver after FMLA so that you're consistent through your document?
Number 3.
Yes.
The question is under number 3, do we need to say, which may be authorized by the Family Medical Leave Act? And I'm sorry, I
Well-
don't know.
I think medical
It
caregiver leave
is.
is part of
It is
FMLA,
part
so
of the
adding it
FMLA.
may just be overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
But we do have another section that specifically says the military caregiver leave that explains what it is and everything. So that might not necessarily be a bad idea because not everybody, all of our employees, me included until recently, knew that that was a portion under FMLA because they just don't. So maybe that would be a good idea just to put it in there.
I'm kind of back and forth on it, you know, it's,
It is highlighted under FMLA leave, so if they went, they could see that it was an option, and rather than adding FMLA leave or medical caregiver leave after every, it's just a lot
Right.
of words is all, but.
right, and that's what I was thinking too, like
Abbreviate.
where it is necessary to delineate the difference between
Sure.
this and that, we do it, but if not, let's just leave it. And I think probably everybody understands. FMLA is complicated, and they're going to have to come to HR to discuss FMLA. They're not gonna be able to figure that out by, checking a couple boxes, so, you'll be able to get them through you'll have to walk them through all that, because that's just not something that, it's not easy to digest even when you know something about what's going on with it. That's just my opinion on FMLA. Question answered? You bet. All right.
So that's what we have that we would like for consideration, that we can, and it seems like we wordsmithed it enough at this point that, if you're comfortable, we would like to take it to legal and have them peruse it and
Yep. And then we'll come back in
come-
March.
and come back and see if you guys are with a finalized, this is what it says, and then you can do the hearing after that, so.
Yep. And then we can get that to council. Yep. Okay. You want to move on to holiday?
I think that this is all we had. That was, the holiday was the first one we discussed.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought there was something else to
Actually
do.
didn't discuss it, you just explained it.
I just didn't know if there were any other.
The lion's share of that, again, was what you had previously approved.
Okay.
So I didn't feel to go through all that again, since it's
Okay.
already been a public hearing. I was just touching on the red
Okay.
items there.
Oh, okay, very good. I just know if there was anything else. Okay. All right. So we have covered old and new business. Is there any other new business or discussion to come before the board?
I do have one thing, just
Mm-hmm.
for discussion, just maybe chew on it for a while, but we have this in some of the CBAs currently. It pertains to probational employees and the ability to promote up or do lateral transfers. So what we're thinking, and again, this is just for discussion at this point, for sure, if you are under probationary status for any kind of disciplinary reason, we want to be able to restrict that employee from putting in for a promotion or putting in for another job. Right now, we don't have nothing that restricts it. So if someone's in Department A and they were written up, put on extended probation, well, if you're placed on extended probation, it's usually for something pretty significant. We want to restrict that individual from putting in another department for a promotional position. If you are a new probationary employee, we don't want to limit that person from promoting up within their 6 months, but we are thinking about maybe it'd be good to put that individual cannot transfer at a lateral transfer within the city to any other department until they've come off of probation. The thinking there is we don't want someone to job hop within the city, but we do not want to limit potential promotion, any kind of promotional positions, because we feel like that benefits the city and benefits the employee. But we don't want someone to get their foot in the door and then start just kind of hopping around lateral transfers, because that puts a burden on the department. You're just going through this time training the individual, and then they leave within 2 or 3 months and go to another department and realize they don't like that job, and then you spend the time training, and then they go to another department and you spend the time. So we just want to limit that. We've just been talking about it the last couple of weeks, or actually really this last week, and just wanted to get your feedback on that before we put pen to paper.
I think that makes sense. Something I'd never thought about before as we've been reviewing this, but it makes sense to me. So one question I would have is, let's say a new person hired in here in the same department gets promoted to here. Do they start another initial probationary period because of the promotion?
Yes, so
Okay,
double. So they'll have a new probationary period for that position,
okay,
but their city probation doesn't get extended out. So if they spent 3 months in one position, they promoted up, they have 6 months probationary period in this position, but they only have 3 months left to get off of their city probation, their initial probation.
okay, so at what point then, I'm
So
just
once
trying
they
to.
once that 3 months, then once they come off that initial probationary period, the first 6 months,
Uh-huh.
then they're eligible for whatever.
Is that in writing in the personal policies and procedures?
No, it's not in there.
Because when I hired into the city, I was on new hire probation for 11 consecutive months. Because I promoted the day of my 5th month, I promoted to another department. And no, I was not allowed to take anything, any vacation, sick leave, anything for 11 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
And I
you
don't
said-
think it's in writing. but
No,
that's been
it's not, it was an
Yeah.
interpretation of how it
A
was
long
handled
time
before.
ago, but.
And that, to me, that defeats the whole purpose of the 6-month probationary period. So it's not, you're right, it's not in there
But
right now.
Chad, did you say that you went to another department?
Yeah, I've started in Public Works.
Okay,
And on the day of my 5th month started, I had already accepted a job at Power and Light, and I went there, and I had to start 6 more months.
which, that is correct.
No,
Right.
he's saved. So there's 2 probationary periods. There's your initial new hire probationary period with the city, regardless of what position you're in, that's 6 months. Then if you promote, you basically, let's call it a promotional probationary period for 6 months. But it shouldn't affect your ability to use time, leave, benefits, anything like that. So it sounds like basically they restarted his initial new hire probationary period and didn't just do it as a promotion.
And I don't agree, how many, that was quite a few years ago, right? I mean,
2000.
yeah, I don't, that's not how we currently do it.
Okay.
It's, once you come off your new hire probation, then in the system, it shows you're no longer on new hire probation, so you can start using your vacation time and all that, this, that, and the other. So but you still are on a probationary period, but for that specific position, promotional.
And geared more towards performance, if that's helpful, right? Just
Yeah.
so you're
Can you
beating,
do that?
yeah.
And we do currently have that in this, in a number, can't say for all of the CBAs, but at least half of the CBAs that you can promote within your 6 months, but you can't transfer over. But they still, even if you promote up, you still come off of your initial probationary period at that 6 months.
Okay.
So,
I think we, and I know I'll take a look for sure. I just want to make sure that whatever changes, we decide on, because we have that. I was under the impression, I guess I did not myself distinguish the difference between a new hire and probationary period and then getting promoted. So, like, let's say you've had your probationary period when you started in fire, and now you've moved over to IPL. This is just, like you said, is a performance to see whether you're going to perform well in that. Not all the, you're already accruing leave because you've already been over here doing all of that. So I just want to make sure that when we look at it, that we kind of make that distinction.
it's
make it
one specific to the position, and the other one specific to being a city employee, just in general. So, yeah.
I have a question, suggestion, food for thought on the disciplinary probation. Sometimes people are not being successful in a role, but they might be successful in another role. Maybe just thinking out loud, instead of saying you cannot do a lateral move. I agree with the promotional. Maybe you're only allowed 1 or 2 of those, so you can't just hop around to avoid getting fired because you have to keep retraining. But you could be losing an opportunity to keep a good employee that may be successful in another role, just because they're not successful in the role that they're currently in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Did I
no,
say that out loud?
that's a
Okay.
very good point, actually. And I can think of a couple of situations over the last number of years that would have for sure come up if it evolved any further than it did.
Well, it could be as easy as the supervisor and that person, have a conflict and, sometimes it doesn't. It's not a fit, but they could go somewhere else and be a rock star. I agree.
Or even the supervisor notices their strengths really aren't for this, but they would be a rock star over here. So
Exactly.
that's a very good point.
So, sir, did I hear Laura call you Chad?
Yes, sir.
So this was a promotion not because it went to a different division, but because it was a better job?
Right.
Okay, because it sounded to me like, going from one division to another before you were out of your probationary period was just what you're trying to discourage.
Correct.
And I would say, don't tie your own hands, because there may be situations where the city really needs somebody's skills somewhere else. And so forbidding it wouldn't be a great idea. You can certainly put some things in that would discourage it, like maybe saying, it's totally lateral, you start a new probationary period.
Okay, yeah, so you do start over at that point, so it's
Mhm.
it's a little risky if you want to start all over again, but you have the ability to do it. Okay, gotcha.
Maybe it's less about saying you can't and just building walls around it to say, this is what's going to happen if you do, or you're limited in the amount of times you can make this decision to do this.
That makes sense, because you're kind of putting in stopgap measures to say, we can go there. If it goes past, then nope, we told you, we can't go past that. So, like you said, building walls to keep it contained.
And maybe what you're saying is you don't want them to initiate that, but if your managers think something ought to happen, maybe you would have a workaround that wouldn't put them through whatever discourages people from doing it themselves.
Chad, were you part of CBA at that time? Is that SEIU?
Yes.
Just wondered if it was part of that, if that spelled it out or not. Was it SEIU to SEIU, or did you leave the union?
It was SEIU to IBEW.
Okay, to IBW, okay, so.
And I couldn't tell you if it was spelled out in there or not, because I
Okay.
didn't question it. I mean,
Sure.
one of the promotions, I just accepted
Sure.
what they told me.
Thank you, that's great feedback.
I'm going to jump back on a previous topic unless there's anything else on that one. I was just thinking about this, the holiday. I think, I was thinking that we were going to have other things to talk about in the holiday, that we, like holiday attendance, like the part about required to work on a holiday, how much you're paid and things like that. Is that stuff that we're still going to be, I know we had mentioned talking about that. So on the second page of the holiday, on number 4, it says, employees required to work on a holiday shall be paid 8 hours at their straight rate. In addition, all hours worked on a holiday will be paid at 1.5 times the straight rate.
That is staying, we confirmed with payroll. So
That-
that's not changing.
So that is, they're gonna get paid 8,
Plus
another
1 and
2.5
8,
times,
and,
essentially
yeah.
2.5 times.
Okay, so that's not changing. Okay, okay. So there aren't any other changes at all that we're gonna be making to holiday pay that you know of?
There was, to your point, I do remember that discussion.
Yeah.
It was regarding what counts towards,
What's hours
what
worked?
can count towards hours worked, and it was a little vague. That was not in, it was not, even though it's hours worked, it was not in Article 4, it was in a different article. Well, I'll vet that a little bit.
Okay.
And send something out, because we did have that discussion, I don't remember specifically. There was an issue that popped up within a department, an interpretation of it.
It was the overtime pay
That's right.
under.
Yeah, it's like if we had a pre-agenda talk meeting and, talking about, let's say you're a 10-hour employee and you work Monday through Thursday. Well, Monday's a holiday, so you're gonna get holiday pay. Or if you are a Tuesday through Friday and the holiday's on Monday, then what do you get and things like that.
Yeah, it was the hours worked. So the holiday counts towards hours worked if it's on your regularly scheduled day. And if it's not on your regularly scheduled day, you still get holiday pay. So if it falls on a Monday, you get 8 hours of holiday pay. But if and you don't work on a Monday, if your shift is Tuesday through Saturday, you do your 40 hours, then you end up getting 48 hours of straight time. So that last day, which Saturday would put you over the 40 hours, you don't get overtime for that because it doesn't count towards your hours worked, the holiday pay.
And is that something we still need to clean up?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay, because what I was gonna suggest, but this changes that, I was gonna suggest that we could go ahead and, if it was just these word changes, we could go ahead with the public hearing next month on that. But it sounds like we're going to have other changes to this section. So we should just, again, stick with our plan, take the others to council that we've already, that we took care of in November, leave this out, not even try to get it,
Well,
a public hearing
it's
next
in a
month.
different article. It's in a different section, the way it's interpreted for some odd reason. So you could still proceed with this if you wanted, and you could still come back and because it's all of the same topic, if you'd rather just hold it together.
I think I'd rather hold it now that we've had that discussion, just to make sure that it's, something's here and there, that we make sure they agree and all that. So, okay. Yeah, so disregard that comment. Okay. If there's nothing else to come before the board, we will look at the calendar to make sure.
Let me ask a personal favor, Mike.
Yes.
I know you're fitting in and trying to get things accomplished that you didn't always have to do before. I don't do well reading something and being thorough about evaluating it if it's handed to me on that day.
Yeah.
If we are in this situation again, I'll probably want to sit here for half an hour. But this was fairly simple. And when you explained that the red was the only thing really changing, that was very minor. So.
And I apologize for that. And I told Laura earlier or last week that the bandwidth was closing, that I wasn't going to be able to get this to her before we met, but we didn't want to wait until March to have this discussion. So we thought we could just bring it, and it was minor enough. But but I would prefer to send it out ahead of time to give you guys a chance to let it saturate and discuss and ask questions even leading up to it.
You won't get our best work otherwise.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
And I've talked with them too, and of course, they're both new to this whole personnel board thing within the last few months, that typically any items that are for consideration at our meetings need to be out by Tuesday at 5. That's why you'll see me late in the afternoon or someone late in the afternoon sending out those documents. But I gave them some grace here because I know they had some, there were some other things that had to be triaged. So, but I'm with you as well. It's hard for me to look at one thing and then.
Sure.
So, yep.
Apologize.
Okay. The reason I wanted to look at the calendar, obviously, we're always scheduled for the second Friday at 10 a.m. That is the 14th of March. I just want to make sure that there isn't anyone out on, I'm just throwing this out, I have other boards that are meeting and there have people that are going to be out for spring break. I don't know.
Is that spring break week?
I don't know. I don't have children and you don't have children. Arthur doesn't have children. I just wanted to make sure that we were gonna, that we weren't going to come up to that date and people were like, oh, gosh.
I'm planning on going to spring training.
Are
I'm
you?
glad you pointed it out.
So,
you're out the 14th?
And I think it's worth maybe retooling and deciding what works best for everybody, because our recently lost board member was the reason we had to do Fridays.
right,
So-
and I was hoping that by now we would have found someone to fill the last slot so we could have a full board discussion about meeting time.
I mean, I'm retired, and
Yeah.
provided it's not a long weekend or something, I can get here any day. But I think it would be fair to everybody if we did that at some point.
Yep, I agree. Hopefully, like I said, if anybody knows anybody who lives in the city of Independence, they have to have lived here a year and has HR experience. I already approached 2 people who their employers were just, they couldn't be flexible to be here anytime during basically any day.
And actually, I was going to leave the morning of the 14th, but I'm driving, so I can leave the afternoon of the 14th.
Okay, so we can still keep the meeting on the 14th then, 10 a.m. in this room.
We have, I'm sorry, our children all go to the same area, so, and I don't know what spring break, so I'm asking them what our spring break is. It's the following week.
It
so
is.
So we're good.
Okay. Okay, so we're still on for the 14th then. Okay, very good. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say bye.
Bye.